All right, guys, this is our Friday Edpuzzle. I'm going to need you to post a pic when you're done. For credit, okay? Post a pic when done of your work. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to graph. So I want you to graph this equation. Show your work. Draw a quick and easy graph. Doesn't have to be the most beautiful thing in the world. But I just need to know what's your plan when you see something like this. When you get to high school, they're going to expect you to be able to have graphing skills. You're not going to want to go in depth in teaching this because you've already learned it in 8th grade. So hopefully you have a good understanding of what you're looking at. In 7th grade, you did this without the y-intercept. All right, the y-intercept in 7th grade was always 0. In 8th grade, we then give you the y-intercept as not 0, as something else. So now this y-intercept is -3, so we're going to go on the y. We know this is our y-axis. We're going to go to -3 and put a point. Then from there, we're going to rise 2, run 3, and put another point there. This is a positive slope, hence the positive fraction here. This is our slope. I used to always put clouds around it because it shows the clouds here that are happening the rise and run. If this was a negative slope, we would have gone down 2 to the right 3. All right. Hopefully you have a good understanding of that. Now we're going to jump into tables to equations. We're going to turn a table. So draw your table out. An x and y table. And we're going to turn it into a equation. Anytime you have 2 points, 2 coordinates, you can turn it into an equation. You have to be able to do this. And what's going to happen sometimes is you're going to be given maybe 2 different tables, and you're going to have to compare them, compare the slopes, compare the y-intercept with each other. So let me give you some data right now. I said 2, 8, 3, 11, 4, 14. Okay? First step, I want you to go ahead and just pick any 2 coordinates you'd like and find the slope. So I'm going to write these out. 2, 8, 3, 11, and I'm going to go ahead and find the slope of those 2 points. When you do the slope, you should remember the slope formula. All right? Another word for slope is rate of change. All right? The rate. Slope, also known as the rate. All right? Make sure you don't forget that as well. Rate of change or rate. If you can't interpret that, you may get some problems wrong that you already know how to do. You know how to do this. You guys go for it. All right? So now it's going to be 8 minus 11, 2 minus 3. When you attack these problems, I want you to go ahead and use your Desmos calculator. Now it was 8 minus 11. All right, I get -3. And then it was 2 minus 3. I get -1. If you struggled with -3 over -1, we're going to write that down right now, -3 over -1. If you didn't know what this is going on here, or maybe you just had a +1 and a -3, if you forget what that's going to equal, use your calculator. You can use your calculator the whole time during our test that we're going to have in 2 weeks. You can use the calculator anytime you want. So -3 divided by -1, and you get +3. Look at this here. You get +3. Okay? So let's go back to our answer here. +3. So where's this 3 go? That's where our slope is. We just figure out the slope. So it's +3. Now, this is the part that gets a little tricky that I totally get, but we still kind of have issues with, is trying to figure out what the y-intercept is. You got to basically finish the puzzle, finish the riddle. So what's going to happen here, I'm going to take the first point, 2 and 8. This point should fit into this equation perfectly. It should be a perfect fit. How do we make it a perfect fit? Well, this is x, this is y. Think about the riddle. Where are you going to put the 2? Right here. Where are you going to put the 8? Right here. Now that you have this, let's think about this as a language arts problem now. Let's think about reading the math sentence. 8 equals 3 times 2. Does 8 equal 3 times 2? Well, 3 times 2 is 6. Does 8 equal 6? And this may look weird, but our whole goal is to get to 8 equals, the only true statement would be 8. This is what we want to get to, where 8 equals 8. How do we get to that point? We are going to go ahead and add what to 6? 2. Now let's go ahead and read the sentence. Does 8 equal 3 times 2 plus 2? Does 8 equal 3 times 2 is 6 plus the 2 is 8? Yes. Now that checks out. Now we're good to go. Okay? It seems like a lot, but you have to have this written down. Your main goal here is to know the slope formula, figure out the slope. That'll help you along the way. Once you get to that point, just start plugging in all of your points. What if you chose 3 and 11? What if you put 3 right here? 3 times 3 is 9, but it's supposed to equal 11. Is 9 plus 2 11? Then it fits our equation. All right, let's do another one. For this one, 1, negative 3, 2, negative 8, 3, negative 13, 4, negative 18. Now here's the deal. When you do this problem, use the calculator. I can't express this enough. Some of you guys maybe are just so lazy that you don't even want to do any work. But guys, this is the lazy man's dream. Lazy person's dream is using the calculator. You don't have to do all the work and write it all out. You can write out the actual formula, but then just plug it in. So let's go ahead and just write out our formula. Y minus y, x minus x. Remember, that's going to give us our slope. And our whole goal is to finish our equation. This is our slope. This is our y-intercept. I'm going to abbreviate to int. What are we going to do? Well, if it's too hard to look at it this way, go ahead and take 2 points and write them out. 1, negative 3, 2, negative 8. And now let's go ahead and plug them in. Y minus y. Y minus y. So here's the key. They're both negatives. This is going to get tricky. Y minus, that's part of your formula. That's part of your formula. What's the other y? Negative 8. Look at what that looks like. Don't let that mess with you. You can handle it. All right? And that's what we're going to plug into our calculator. This looks confusing. Totally fine. Use your calculator. All right, let me open it back up. Move this out of the way here too. And I'm going to clear all. And what was it again? It was negative 3 minus a negative 8. All right, and that was positive 5. Positive 5. All of that equaled positive 5. Interesting. For this next one, you don't have to use a calculator for this one. You should know 1 minus 2. But you know what? I hate that word, you should know. But let's do 1 minus 2. I hate that phrase, you should know. Let's just make sure we actually plug it in. Let's check our work. All right? And it's negative 1. So now you have a negative 1 on the bottom and a positive 5. So the answer is going to be negative 5. So we have a negative slope here. We have a negative slope on our hands. That means it's a line that's going to be going down. Bad for business. Okay? Now, this is where it could get a little tricky. We're going to plug in the first coordinate. Let's plug in the first coordinate. So the first coordinate is 1 for x, negative 3 for y. All right? Negative 3 equals negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. How do I get it to eventually be negative 3 equals negative 3? How do I get negative 5 to go down to negative 3? Or actually, to go up to negative 3? It's kind of confusing, but I'm going to show you my calculator. If I clear all this out and put negative 5 I said minus 2, I get negative 7. But if I say plus 2, what do I get? Negative 3. So negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. Negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. Kind of confusing. That was a tough one. All right, our last question. I am going to ask you, let me go ahead and write the tables out for you, and then I'm going to ask you a question. So we're going to call this table A, and this is going to be table B. And I told you they're going to do this every once in a while to you guys. So for this one, put 1, 12, 2, 14, 3, 16, 4, 18. And then for this one, 0, 0, 1, 3, 2, 6, 3, 9. And the question is, which rate of change is larger? Which rate of change is larger? Okay. For this question, which rate of change is larger, table A or table B? Let's go. What does rate of change first mean? And you should remember it is slope, what we've been doing the whole time. Finding the slope. So the rate of change is going to be 12 minus 14. I did that real quick because I know this is my y's. Y minus y, x minus x, 1 minus 2. Over here, 0 minus 3, y minus y, x minus x, 0 minus 1. Negative 3 over negative 1. Okay? I did that quickly. You can use your calculator here. Negative 2 over negative 1. When you have two negatives divided turns into a positive. Two negatives divided turns into a positive. All right? So here's the deal. Which one's larger? Obviously 3. Table B is larger. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Next week, we're going to be doing some geometry review, and I'll see you on Monday.